He gave her everything a millionaire father could, except the one thing she wanted most. But when she turned 14 and asked, "Why don't I have a mother?" the truth changed all their lives forever. Stay tuned because you are about to watch a beautiful story and find out what happened next. Hello, family. Welcome to Tales Haven. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories. Thank you, as you do. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. Ethan Carter was the kind of man people read about in magazines, the self-made millionaire who had built an empire from nothing. He was sharp, confident, and respected in every business circle. But if you asked him what his greatest achievement was, he would never talk about his company or his wealth. He would simply say, "My daughter." From the moment Amelia Grace Carter came into the world, she became his reason for breathing. He remembered holding her for the first time, so tiny, wrapped in a pink blanket, and whispering, "You're my whole world now." That promise had never been broken. Their life together was warm, but it was also unusual. In the grand Carter mansion, there was no mother's laughter echoing down the halls, no second parent at school events, no woman's voice calling them for dinner. It was just Ethan, Amelia, and the two people he trusted like family, Mr. Johnson, the elderly chef with silver hair and a heart of gold, and Mrs. Parker, the housekeeper who had been caring for Ethan since his own childhood. Ethan tried to make sure Amelia never felt the absence. He attended every school play, even rearranging million-dollar meetings just to see her smile on stage. He took her to amusement parks, went on weekend trips to the beach, and made it a tradition to read her bedtime stories, even when she was old enough to read on her own. But as Amelia grew older, she began to notice the small differences between her life and her friends' lives. At birthday parties, she saw her friends' mothers fussing over their hair and dresses. At school events, she noticed other mothers cheering from the audience. And at the park, she saw mothers pushing strollers, laughing and chatting with their daughters. Amelia had always been careful with her questions. She assumed, perhaps, that her mother was simply too busy or maybe lived far away. But the curiosity grew quietly inside her like a shadow that wouldn't fade. One autumn evening, the mansion was quiet except for the soft clinking of cutlery in the dining room. A golden chandelier cast a warm glow over the polished table where Ethan and Amelia sat having dinner. She was unusually quiet, pushing the peas around her plate. Ethan noticed. "You're not eating much tonight," he said, setting down his fork. She hesitated, her eyes fixed on the tablecloth. "Dad, can I ask you something?" His chest tightened. "Of course, sweetheart. Anything." Her voice was soft, but the question carried a weight far beyond her years. Why don't I have a mother?" For a moment, the air in the room seemed to disappear. Ethan's hands stilled. The ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway suddenly felt louder. He searched for words, but none came. He had always known this day would come, the day her innocence would be pierced by the one truth he had tried to shield her from. But looking into her curious, longing eyes, he realized there was no easy answer. All he could manage in that moment was her name, spoken almost like a plea. "Amelia?" The question hung between them, heavy and unspoken, not just about the absence of a mother, but about the pieces of their lives that had been locked away in his heart for 14 long years. "Amelia?" Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. He put his fork down and stood up slowly. The chandelier light caught the worry in his eyes. "Come," he said gently. "Let's sit where we can talk." They moved to the family room. The fire in the stone fireplace was low and soft, the way Amelia liked it on cool evenings. Ethan sat on the sofa, but didn't lean back. He rested his elbows on his knees, hands clasped. Amelia curled into the corner cushion, her knees pulled close, trying to be brave. "I should have told you sooner," he began. "I thought I was protecting you. Maybe I was also hiding from my own mistakes." He took a breath. "First, you need to know this. Your mother loved you. She loved you from the very beginning. And she loved me. We loved each other very much." Amelia's fingers tightened around the edge of a pillow. "Then why isn't she here?" Ethan nodded, as if he had expected that question for years. He stood, crossed to the built-in shelf, and pulled down a small wooden box with a scratched lid. He brought it to the coffee table and opened it carefully. Inside were keepsakes, a tiny pink hospital bracelet with baby Carter, printed in faded ink, a folded photo of a young couple, Ethan and a beautiful woman with warm eyes, laughing on a city sidewalk, a pressed white daisy between tissue paper, a silver locket. Ethan picked up the photo and set it between them. "Her name is Isabella," he said softly. "We met when we were young. I was starting my first business. She was studying literature and helping at a small bookstore after class. We used to sit on the shop floor after closing and read to each other. We dreamed big. We promised to stay kind no matter how hard life got." Amelia leaned forward, her eyes drawn to Isabella's smile. "She's beautiful." "She is," he said, a sad smile touching his face. "When you were born, I held you and cried like a child. Your mom laughed and called me soft. We were happy, but success came fast for me. I worked longer hours. Reporters wanted stories. Investors came with demands. I told myself I was doing it for us, for you. But I stopped listening the way I used to." His voice roughened. "One day, a rumor started, stupid and small. A photo of me with a woman from a brand event, taken at the wrong angle. I explained, but I did it badly. I was tired, cold. Then I asked Isabella why she had coffee with an old college friend without telling me first. We were both hurt, both proud. We said sharp words. I waited for her to apologize. She waited for me." He swallowed. Two strong people. Two stubborn hearts. Pride sat between us like a wall. Amelia's brows knit. "Did she leave because of me?" "No," he said firmly, sitting up straighter. "Never because of you. You were our light." After a few months of trying and failing to talk without fighting, Isabella went to stay with her aunt for a little while. We thought the space would help, but time passed. The wall grew taller. We wrote letters and didn't send them. We picked up the phone and hung up before the first ring. We were cowards with feelings too big for our pride. He opened the silver locket and turned it toward Amelia. Inside, on one side, was a tiny photo of Isabella holding a newborn. On the other, a tiny photo of Ethan kissing the baby's head. "We kept this close when you were little," he said, his voice breaking. "After she left, I put it in this box because I could not bear to see it and still not fix what I broke." Tears filled Amelia's eyes. "All this time you never told me." "I should have," he said. "I told myself I'd wait until you were older and stronger. But the truth is, I was afraid that telling you would make you ask for something I wasn't brave enough to face." He met her eyes. "Can you forgive me for keeping this from you?" Amelia wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand. I think so. It hurts, but I think so." She looked back at the photo. "Did you stop loving her?" "No," Ethan said, the word firm and simple. "I never stopped. And I don't believe she did either. We let pride speak louder than love. That's the ugliest part of our story." The house creaked softly, the way big houses do at night. From the hallway came the faint clink of dishes, Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Parker cleaning up in quiet respect, giving them space. "Where is she now?" Amelia asked, voice small. "I don't know exactly," Ethan admitted. "For a while I knew she was in the city with her aunt. Then I heard she moved to a quieter neighborhood. I kept a distance because every time I tried to step forward, the old fight came back to my throat." He pulled out a small stack of envelopes from the box, unsent letters with his careful handwriting. "I wrote to her many times. I never mailed these." Amelia touched the top envelope. "Can I read them?" "Not tonight," he said gently. "They were written to her. But I'll tell you anything you want to know." She nodded, thinking, searching his face for the parts that still hurt. "Did Mom know you were raising me alone?" "Yes." I sent updates through her aunt, even when I couldn't speak to Isabella directly. I sent school photos, birthday photos. I wanted her to know you were safe and loved. I should have done more. I should have done better." Silence settled again, but it felt different now, full, not empty. Ethan closed the box and placed the locket in Amelia's hand. "This is yours," he said. "It always was. And this, too." He slid a folded paper from beneath the box's false bottom. "It's the last address I had for Isabella's aunt. It may not be current, but it's a place to start." Amelia held the locket tightly. The metal was cool against her skin, but it warmed quickly in her palm. "Dad, I want to meet her." Ethan's eyes shone. Fear and relief lived in the same look. "I'll help you however I can. I won't hide anymore." She shifted closer and rested her head on his shoulder. He wrapped an arm around her, the way he had done when she was small and scared of thunder. "I'm sorry," he whispered into her hair. "For the years I let my fear choose silence." "I'm glad you told me," she said, "even though it hurts." They sat like that for a long time, father and daughter, watching the fire turn to quiet embers. At last, Ethan stood and walked her to her room. He tucked the locket chain around her neck, and it lay against her heartbeat. "Good night, sweetheart. Good night, Dad." When the door clicked soft behind him, Amelia lay awake staring at the ceiling. She touched the locket, opened it, and looked from her mother's face to her father's, back and forth, as if memorizing the pieces of a puzzle she was finally allowed to see. By the time dawn touched the curtains, she had made a decision. She would find her mother, kindly, bravely, and without pride, and she would try to bring love home. Morning light slid across Amelia's room like a slow promise. She touched the silver locket at her throat and felt its tiny click as it opened, her mother on one side, her father on the other. Last night had changed her. The question that once felt like a wall now felt like a door. Downstairs, the kitchen smelled like butter and warm maple syrup. Mr. Johnson flipped pancakes with careful hands. Mrs. Parker poured fresh orange juice and set out napkins folded into little triangles. "Good morning, sunshine," Mr. Johnson said with a soft smile. "Short stack or tall?" "Tall," Amelia answered, then took a breath. "And I want to find my mom." Mrs. Parker's hands paused around the glass. She glanced at Mr. Johnson, then at Amelia, her eyes kind and serious. "We'll help with whatever your father decides," she said gently. Ethan stepped into the doorway as if he had been waiting there for the right second. No suit jacket yet, just a white shirt and rolled sleeves. He looked at his daughter first, then at the locket, and gave a small nod. "I promised last night," he said. "No more hiding." He took a slip of paper from his wallet and set it on the table. "This is the last address I had for your mother's aunt. We can start there this weekend." Amelia's heart lifted. "Thank you." Mr. Johnson cleared his throat, cautious but hopeful. "Sir, if I may, there's also a place your mother loved." He turned to Amelia. "A little cafe by Willow Lake. Saturdays mid-morning." She called it her quiet hour. "I used to pack a small box of pastries she liked, and your father would send me with it." Ethan's face softened with memory. The Willow Lake Cafe. She loved the corner table near the window. 2 clues. 2 doors. Amelia tucked the address into her notebook. "We'll try the aunt first, then the cafe." Saturday came dressed in bright air and nervous hope. Ethan drove while Amelia held the locket and watched the streets change from glass towers to small homes and blooming trees. They pulled up in front of a pale yellow house with white steps and a porch swing that creaked softly in the light wind. A woman in a gardening hat opened the door. "Can I help you?" Ethan's voice was respectful, careful. "Good morning. I'm looking for Ruth Hale. She used to live here." "She did," the woman said. "But she moved 2 years ago to be closer to her sister. I bought the house from her." "Do you know where she went?" Amelia asked, trying to keep hope from slipping. The woman shook her head. "I'm sorry. I don't. She mentioned a small town near the coast, but I never caught the name." She paused, then smiled kindly at Amelia. "You have your mother's eyes, you know." Amelia blinked. "You knew her?" "Only once," the woman said. "I came to view the house early. Your aunt had a picture of a young couple and a baby on the mantel. She said, 'That's my niece and her family.' I remember, because she touched the frame like it was precious." They thanked her and walked back to the car. The lead was gone, but the warmth in the woman's words wrapped around Amelia like a scarf. "It's okay," Amelia said, more to herself than anyone else. "We have the cafe." Ethan glanced at her. "We can go now." She nodded. "Please." Willow Lake lay calm under a sky the color of soft linen. Ducks drew little lines across the water, and the willow trees leaned down as if listening to secrets. The cafe sat at the curve of the path, all white trim and flower boxes, a bell on the door that chimed with a friendly ring. Inside, the air smelled like cinnamon and fresh coffee. A woman with kind eyes and silver-streaked hair stood behind the counter, writing on a chalkboard menu. "Welcome," she said. "What can I get for you?" Amelia stepped forward, fingers wrapped around the locket chain. I'm actually looking for someone. My mother. Her name is Isabella. She used to come here on Saturdays. Years ago." The woman's smile shifted, slower, softer. She studied Amelia's face, then looked at the locket. "You must be her daughter." Amelia's breath caught. "You know her?" "I know she loved that corner table by the window," the woman said, nodding toward a small round table with sunlight spilling across it. She ordered chamomile tea with honey, sometimes a blueberry scone. She read a book and underlined words like they were friends. "I'm Mrs. Green, the owner." "Does she still come?" Ethan asked, voice low. Mrs. Green considered. "Not every week, but some Saturdays, usually around 10. She sits, reads, looks out at the lake like she's memorizing it." She leaned in, her voice kind. "You have her eyes, dear, and your father's mouth." Amelia swallowed, tears pressing at the edge. "May I wait here, in case she comes?" "Of course," Mrs. Green said, already reaching for a kettle. "You'll need tea. And courage. Both are on the house." They took the corner table. Ethan sat across from his daughter, hands folded, trying to be calm while his heart hammered. He looked around and saw his past like a faint photograph, the chair where he once sat opposite Isabella, the window where light made her laugh look brighter. "Tell me about her here," Amelia said. "Tell me something small. Something only we would know." Ethan smiled at the memory. She used to tap the rim of her cup when she was thinking. 3 light taps. And she always left a napkin with a line from whatever she was reading, like a breadcrumb for the next person. Mrs. Green set down 2 cups and a plate with a blueberry scone cut in half. "If you want," she said, "we keep a little guest book by the register. People write notes. Sometimes your mother wrote there. Not her full name, just a line. And a tiny daisy doodle." Amelia's head turned quickly. "Could I see it?" Mrs. Green brought the book. The cover was worn smooth, the pages thick with time. Amelia turned them carefully, page after page of birthdays, proposals, little goodbyes. Then she saw it, a simple line written in neat, light handwriting. "Some loves wait. Some learn to walk back." A tiny daisy next to it. Amelia traced the words without touching them. "It's her," she whispered. They waited that day until the afternoon shadows changed the color of the lake. Isabella did not come. They left a small note with Mrs. Green. "I'm Amelia. I wear the locket. I'll be here next Saturday at 10. I'd like to hear your voice." The next Saturday, Amelia returned. So did the next. She sat by the window with chamomile tea and a book she barely read, listening for the bell on the door. Sometimes Ethan joined her. Sometimes he sat on the bench outside, giving her space but never going far. On the 3rd Saturday, rain lined the window like silver threads. The cafe was quieter, all soft voices and the gentle clink of cups. Amelia's hands were warm around her tea. Her heart was a steady drum. The bell over the door chimed. Amelia looked up. A woman stepped inside, shaking rain from her hair, a book tucked against her chest. Amelia's fingers tightened around the locket until it pressed into her palm. She didn't breathe. "Not yet. Please," she whispered to the part of herself that still felt 7 years old. "Let it be her." The woman walked to the counter. "Chamomile tea, please. With honey." Her voice was gentle, familiar. It settled over the room like a memory coming home. Mrs. Green glanced toward Amelia, then back to the woman. coming right up. She slid a cup onto the saucer and, very softly, nodded toward the corner table by the window. The woman turned. Her gaze landed on Amelia. They both stilled. Amelia stood, knees unsteady. The locket chain tugged at her neck as she took one step, then another. The woman lifted a shaking hand to her mouth. For a heartbeat, it was only their eyes speaking. All the lost years, all the almost and someday, all the love that hadn't had a voice. Mom. Amelia's voice cracked around the small word. The book slipped from the woman's fingers and thudded on the floor. Amelia. They met in the space between tables. The first touch was careful, then it broke into a real hug, tight, messy, shaking. The kind that says, I didn't know how much I needed this until now. Isabella, because there was no doubt now, buried her face in her daughter's shoulder and cried the kind of tears that come from deep places. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Amelia held on. I missed you every day. Mrs. Green quietly set the tea down at their table and turned the little, open sign to please come in without the bell, giving them the room they needed. They sat. Amelia close, Isabella's hands wrapped around the warm cup like she was trying to steady herself. Isabella tapped the rim, 3 light taps, exactly as Ethan had told Amelia. The sound made Amelia smile through her tears. You got my note, Amelia said. I did, Isabella answered. I read it 3 times before I could move. I told myself not to be a coward. Not this time. Amelia glanced at the book on the floor. Isabella reached down, picked it up, and placed it on the table. A tiny daisy was doodled near the dog-eared corner. Another breadcrumb. Another yes. I don't know where to start, Isabella said softly. Everything I want to say feels too small for 14 years. Start with truth, Amelia said. Even if it's simple. Isabella nodded. I loved your father. I still do, in a way that never learned how to die. We were young and proud. We were hurt and stubborn. We waited for the other to say, I'm sorry. We punished ourselves with silence. She swallowed. I loved you from the first kick I felt. When I left to clear my head, I told myself it was for a week. Then a month. Then the shame grew teeth. I thought if I walk back now, he'll think I came because I lost. Pride is a small word for a big, foolish thing. Amelia listened, hands locked around the locket. Dad sent photos, she said. Through Aunt Ruth. Isabella's eyes brightened with tears again. Every birthday. Every first day of school. I put them in a box and took them out at night. I memorized your smiles. I whispered to the walls about the day I would be brave. But morning came, and I wasn't. Amelia took a breath. Did you ever come to see me? Even from far? Twice, Isabella admitted, shame and tenderness twined together. Once outside your school on a spring carnival day. You wore a yellow ribbon. Once at the winter concert. I stood in the back. You sang with your hair in a bun and your eyes on the conductor. I left before the lights came up because I couldn't trust my feet not to run to you. Amelia pressed her lips together and nodded. I wish you had run. So do I, Isabella said, breaking again. I am sorry for the years I fed my pride and starved my courage. I am sorry you learned to ask this question at 14 instead of hearing the truth at 4. Amelia reached across and covered her mother's hand. I can forgive you, she said, voice small but sure. But I also want more. I want to know you. Not just you're sorry. A slow, trembling smile appeared on Isabella's face. Then ask me anything. What's your favorite smell? Amelia asked, surprising herself. Fresh oranges. And the first page of a new book. And your baby shampoo. They both laughed through wet eyes. What's your comfort food? Grilled cheese with too much butter. And your father's chef used to send me blueberry scones from here. She glanced toward the counter. Mrs. Green gave a tiny knowing wave. What do you do on hard days? Amelia asked. I walk by the lake, Isabella said. I count the willow branches. I remind myself that some things bend and do not break. Amelia nodded. I do math when I'm scared. It makes the world obey a rule. They breathed together for a while, letting the soft talk unwrap the tight years. The cafe hummed gently around them, a safe sound. Outside, on the wet bench facing the window, Ethan sat under a small black umbrella. He had watched the door open. He had seen the book fall, the hug, the tears. He had not moved because he did not want to crash into something tender and make it shatter. Amelia noticed him through the glass. Her chest lifted with a new kind of fear, the fear of two worlds finally touching. "Mom," she said softly, "Dad is outside." Isabella's hand tightened. Color drained, then returned to her cheeks. "Is he?" Amelia nodded. "He gave me the locket last night. He told me about the napkin lines. He said he never stopped loving you." Isabella's eyes closed for a second. When she opened them, they were fierce and soft at once. "I don't know what to say to him yet. But I know what not to say. Not angry. Not proud." Amelia stood. "Stay here. I'll bring him in. Only if you're ready." "I'm ready to be kind," Isabella said. "Even if my voice shakes." Amelia stepped into the rain. It cooled her hot face and steadied her steps. Ethan stood when he saw her. "Is it?" he began. "It's her," Amelia said. "She's inside. She's real and brave and sorry. Will you come in? We don't have to fix everything. Just sit." Ethan's throat moved. He closed the umbrella and followed his daughter. The bell chimed again. Isabella stood as they approached. For a breath, no one spoke. Then Ethan said her name like it was both a prayer and a wound. "Isabella." She answered with his. "Ethan." They didn't rush. They didn't pretend the years weren't there. Amelia slipped between them and reached for each of their hands. She guided them to the corner table, 1 chair, 2 chairs, 3 chairs. They sat. "Thank you," Isabella said, eyes on Amelia. "For writing a note I could not ignore." "Thank you," Ethan said to Amelia as well. "For opening the door I was afraid to touch." Amelia exhaled and smiled through tears. "No more pride. Not today." Isabella looked at Ethan. "We can start with gentleness." Ethan nodded. "And honesty." They all looked at the window where the rain had softened to a mist. Mrs. Green refilled their cups and left a napkin on the table, blank and waiting. For the first time in 14 years, all 3 chairs at the corner table were filled. And though the path ahead was uncertain, the room itself felt like a promise. Quiet, warm, and big enough for truth. The napkin lay between them like a white flag. No one reached for it yet. The tea steamed softly in their cups, carrying the faint scent of chamomile and honey. Outside, the rain had slowed to a silver drizzle, and the lake beyond the window rippled gently under the willows. For a long moment, Ethan and Isabella simply looked at one another. Really looked. 14 years of silence was a heavy thing to carry, and yet in this small cafe, with Amelia between them, the weight seemed just light enough to lift. "It's strange," Isabella said quietly, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. "You look exactly the same and nothing like the man I left." Ethan gave a small smile, sad but honest. "And you look exactly the same and everything like the woman I loved." Amelia's heart squeezed. She looked from one to the other, searching for any spark that might grow into something warm again. "You don't have to pretend nothing happened," she said softly. "But maybe you could talk about what happened without fighting this time?" Ethan's eyes stayed on Isabella. "I blamed you," he admitted, his voice steady but low. "I told myself you walked away because you didn't love me enough to stay. I made it about my pride instead of my fear." Isabella's eyes shimmered. "And I blamed you. I told myself you didn't fight hard enough for me to come back. I convinced myself walking away would make you realize you could lose me, but it only made us both lose each other." Amelia reached under the table and took both their hands. "I know I'm not a little girl anymore, but I still want what I've always wanted. I want both of you in my life. Not in memories. Not in old photos. Here. Now." Neither parent spoke right away. The air was thick with the kind of silence that holds truth. Finally, Ethan let out a slow breath. "I can't change the years I missed. But I can choose not to waste another one." He turned to Isabella. I'm sorry. Not for just one thing, but for everything. For the words I didn't say, for the letters I didn't send, for not coming to find you when I should have. Isabella's tears finally spilled over. And I'm sorry. For letting shame speak louder than love. For watching you from the shadows instead of walking up to you. For letting our daughter grow up thinking her parents couldn't be in the same room without breaking. The grip of Amelia's hands tightened around theirs. So, can we start over? Even if it's hard. Ethan looked at Isabella, and for the first time in years, there was no sharpness in his gaze, only softness. I'd like to try. So would I, Isabella said, nodding through her tears. Mrs. Green returned quietly, setting down a plate with 3 blueberry scones. On the house, she said, smiling knowingly. For new beginnings. They ate slowly, talking not about the fight that broke them, but about the little things, Amelia's school, the cafe, the lake they both still loved. They laughed awkwardly at first, then more naturally. Every word was a step, every glance a small brick removed from the wall between them. That night, Ethan drove Isabella home. Not to his house, not yet, but to the small apartment where she had been living. They stood at her door for a moment, unsure how to say goodbye without making it feel like another ending. I'll see you soon? Ethan asked. Yes, Isabella said.
Soon.
Not 14 years from now. They shared a quiet smile before she went inside. Amelia watched from the car, her heart full but cautious. She knew it wouldn't all be easy, but for the first time, it felt possible. Weeks passed. Isabella began visiting the mansion on weekends. She and Ethan still stumbled over some conversations, but they didn't run from them anymore. They learned how to listen again, how to be gentle without losing their honesty. Amelia would sometimes find them in the kitchen late at night, drinking tea and talking in low voices. One evening, Amelia came home from school to find her parents sitting together in the garden. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft pink and gold. Isabella's hand rested over Ethan's, and they were laughing at something Mr. Johnson had said earlier. Amelia stood in the doorway, watching them. The locket felt warm against her chest, as if it knew the story inside it was finally whole. Months later, the 3 of them returned to the Willow Lake Cafe, the place where it all began again. This time, they didn't sit at the corner table. They sat in the middle, where light fell evenly on all of them. Mrs. Green placed a fresh napkin on the table. Isabella picked up a pen and wrote, in her neat, careful handwriting. Some loves wait.
Some learn to walk back.
And some come home together. She set the pen down, and Ethan slid his hand into hers. Amelia smiled, knowing that the words would stay there for others to read, proof that even after years of silence, love could still find its way back. The bell over the cafe door chimed as a breeze moved through. For the first time in 14 years, Amelia felt something she had only imagined as a child. Home wasn't just a house. It was this. Her father, her mother, together. And this time they were not letting go. That brings us to the end of this video. If you find this story videos worth watching, kindly subscribe to my channel for more beautiful stories, like, and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Your support and engagement encourage me to post more videos. Thanks for watching.